Hello, boys and girls. I hope you've brushed your teeth, you've washed your face, and you're ready for your story. So tonight's story is going to be World War Dog, Part 1. There has always been a lot of tension between dogs and weasels, because dogs, they're cute, and they're funny, and they're hardworking, and they're loyal, and they're good, and they're just so cute. Whereas weasels, they steal stuff. And they're sneaky and cunning and smelly. Trust me, they are smelly. And nobody likes them. So, the weasels on Weasel Island devised a cunning plan. They were going to wage war on dogs, take over their land, and then take all their food and all their stuff until they're left with nothing but the fur on their backs and their paws. So, all of the weasel generals in the army thought this was a very good idea. And so, the great plan began. The first move was to prepare their invasion fleet. So, they, not troubling to keep it hidden, they built huge ships, wooden ships that is. Weasels are too dumb to make metal ships yet. And they made biplanes, and they put guns on them, and they started making a grand army to take on Doggyville. However, by chance, one day when Andrex and Little Ted were doing stunts in their aeroplane, they saw the navy that the weasels were building. Quickly, they landed and they rushed through the town to the building where the mayor is. So, they tried to warn the mayor that there was a huge army approaching from Weasel Island. But the mayor said, "There's nothing there in Weasel Island." And then he looked at the photo that the Little Ted and Andrex had managed to capture, and then he realized they were telling the truth. So he was very worried, and he sent out an announcement saying that the weasels are going to attack us, so we must prepare a navy to fight back. So, even though nobody actually said it, they were at war. Now, dogs are cleverer than weasels, so they built huge metal boats, and they put missiles on the boats, and they built monoplanes, which are planes with only one set of wings, and they built the pride and joy of their navy, the HDS, her dog's ship, Andrexia. It was an aircraft carrier, and it could carry 50 planes. So, Andrex and Little Ted said, "Where are the planes?" And then they realized that they didn't have any updated planes. All they had was a couple of old Spitfires in the hangars. "Well, those will have to do," said the general. So they hammered, and they painted, and they oiled, and they welded, and they soldered, until the Spitfires were brand new, like they were just off the assembly line. Which they weren't, but who cares? So, they got onto the boats, and they set sail towards Weasel Island, just as the weasels set off to Doggy Island. And as you can see what would happen, they are going to collide and have a great big sea battle. So, when the general spotted the weasel army on the horizon, He yelled, "Battle stations, everybody! The weasels are on the horizon!" And everybody rushed into their battle stations. Andrex and Little Ted didn't know what to do though, so the general told them, "Just go fly your planes." So they ran to their planes, and they slowly pushed them onto the lift, which takes them from the hangar to the flight deck. And then they pressed a button. Ooh. The lift went up and up really slowly. "Why won't this thing go faster?" said Andrex. "Woof woof!" "It's because it's not very fast, maybe," said Little Ted. "Growl." Andrex said, "I know how to fix that." So he got out his hammer and he whacked the elevator a few times. Suddenly, it shot up like a trampoline, and they were on the flight deck in no time. "How did that work?" said Little Ted. Growl. "It's because the gears were clogged up, so I had to whack it to get all the stuff out," said Andrex. So they pushed the planes onto the runway, and they prepped them, and they loaded up the ammunition, bullets, and Andrex and Little Ted got into the cockpits. Then they closed the cockpit hood, and they got ready to take off. "Remember," said the general, "your Spitfires are equipped with bombs, so you can drop them on the ships." Andrex gave him a thumbs up. Can dogs give thumb ups?" He gave the general a wave of his paw, and then the landing people said, "Chocks away!" and they dragged the chocks out of the way. Andrex started up the engines, and he shot forward and into the sky. Little Ted was having a bit more trouble with starting the engine, but he too managed to take off. Now meanwhile, on the weasel ship, everybody was scurrying around, and they got to their gun stations. You see, they put some cannons on the weasel ships, and they thought that they could just use the cannons to stay back and shoot the doggy navy. So the general ordered the cannons to fire. So they stuffed gunpowder into the cannon barrel. Then they put the cannonball into the cannon barrel. They pressed it down, and then they lit the cannon. The cannon shot across the deck because it wasn't bolted and smashed into one of the masts, which fell over. Crash! The cannonball, however, whizzed through the air and hit one of the ships. However, because the ship armor was very, very thick, it bounced straight off and landed in the water. So did all the other cannonballs. Then Andrex and Little Ted saw the ships, and they saw they had gunpowder above deck. "Why don't we bomb the gunpowder?" said Little Ted. "Grr, grr." "That's a really good idea," said Andrex. "Woof woof." So Andrex got the Spitfire into a steep dive and turned on his machine guns. Rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat. Wood everywhere, as usual. So now the weasel ships were battered with bullets. Little Ted decided to release his bombs. They only had one bomb each. So when he thought the timing was right, he released his bomb. However, he missed. He hit the captain's cabin instead. And he also blew up the steering wheel, so now the ship couldn't steer. So, Little Ted said to Andrex, "I didn't hit it." Andrex said, "Okay, I'll hit it then." Woof woof! So he went into another dive, and just when he thought the timing was right, he released the bomb. And this time, it hit the gunpowder. The bomb and the gunpowder exploded and blew the lead weasel ship to pieces. And without the leading ship, the other weasels in the weasel navy got scared, so they turned their ships around and they ran back to Weasel Island. "Yay!" said Andrex. "Yay!" said Little Ted. "Yay!" said all the dogs who were on the ships. And so, when Andrex and Little Ted came back, they were rewarded with dog treats for Andrex and bear treats for Little Ted. "Bear treats?" said Little Ted. "Yes," said the general. "Why don't you try them?" So Little Ted had a nibble. "These are good," he said. "Glad you like them," said Andrex, chuckling. So, now that they had managed to score the first victory, the general decided they should sail forward and try to take over the Weasel Island until the weasels surrender. So that is what they did as they sailed into the sunset. Okay, boys and girls, that's the end of the story. I hope you liked it. Of course, there is another part because this is part 1, but yeah. And I'll see you next time. Bye!